Most people tell you to post more content and focus on views and engagement, but content doesn't equal sales. Trust is what's going to make you the money. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to build trust using your content, funnels, and your Instagram story. Now, this is the profile funnel that breaks every single aspect down to the finest details. And everything starts at the top of the funnel, which is your traffic mechanism. The whole point of this part of the funnel is to drive people into your profile and attract cold traffic. Now, the way you do this is through ads or organic content. And there's only one purpose of these videos. It's to get people to follow you into your converting mechanism, which is going to be your Instagram profile in this case. Here, you want to make sure that you've optimized your bio, your highlights, your posts, and your pinned content. This is basically the part that gives you the authority position and builds trust. And the way we do this is through three different types of content. You have your short form content, which is going to be Miro videos and talking head videos for assets. You have your long form assets, which is going to be YouTube videos. And what I mean by assets is basically you giving something away in return for their engagement or contact information. And then, of course, you have your Instagram story sequences, which is basically daily stories that you structure in a way to build people's beliefs, trust, and trigger conversations into your DMs. Because the whole point of this system is to get people into your conversations. The content here inside of your ecosystem is designed in a way that's going to retarget people back in until you can eventually get a conversation out of them. Now, these Instagram stories, by the way, I'm going to mention them over here. But first, these Instagram stories are basically small pieces of content that you're going to be posting every single day, showing your work, your results, playing on people's pain points, showing case studies, giving solutions to people, and basically converting visitors into followers. And the reason this part of the funnel is so amazing is because these content pieces are the ones you're going to be using to retarget people back into your profile. That means you're going to be getting organic engagement from these. And additionally, you're going to be getting that boost from the ads using the same pieces of content, which means after this part of the funnel is done, only these three things are what's going to be making you money. Now, you're going to get two types of conversations. You're going to get inbound leads from people replying to your asset videos, which basically means people DMing you or commenting a word to get something in return, which you're then going to send to them, or your setter is going to send to them and start the conversation or send the asset or whatever. Additionally, you have the warm outbound leads, which are your followers. Now, the reason this system works so well is because you eliminate all cold outreach. The only people you're going to be reaching out to is people who are already inside of your converting mechanism or your ecosystem. And these people are going to be warm. They're going to trust you more. They're going to see you as the authority because they've been fed your content and they've been fed the information that you provide for them. And one key thing that you need to understand is people don't pay for information. They pay for implementation, they pay for access, and they pay for accountability. That's why in these three pieces of content, you're just going to be dropping all the value that you know. You're going to be giving them everything. You're not going to keep anything private. You're just going to give away all examples, all information, everything. Once you get people into your conversation, all you need to do is warm them up even more and qualify them to see if they're fit for getting on a call. And the way you do this is super simple. You have a genuine conversation. You ask about their business, you ask about their issues, their pain points, you give them value, you give them solutions to these pain points, and just have a genuine conversation until the point comes where you can either send them a lead magnet or you can invite them to get on a call. Now, let's say you're inside of the conversation and it isn't going anywhere. You can then ask them if you can send them an asset like a VSL or a guide or whatever to basically build up even more trust. And worst case, if none of these flows work for you, you hit them with the follow-up sequence to potentially get them back on board. And worst case, if they're not warm enough and it didn't work, this system works so well because even if they don't reply to you, they're still getting fed back into your ecosystem, getting fed more pieces of your content and building even more trust, which means that once people hit that follow button on your page, there's no escape. The only way they're getting away is if they completely block you. That's why the system works so well. Now, if you do eventually get them to agree to book a call and you feel like there might still be some doubt in their mind, you can send them a dynamic asset. The dynamic asset is just basically going to be a content piece, like a case study, VSL, story sequence, whatever, to basically give them even more value, to build up even more trust right before the call and boost the close rates. Now, once you're on the call, you shouldn't even call this a sales call. This is more going to be the onboarding call because they're going to be warm. They're already going to know your offer and everything. So you're just going to need to show them more around and basically get that payment. And if that still doesn't work, but you still really want to get them on board, you can try and downsell them. It's not required, but you can if you feel like this client will benefit you in the long run. So let's say you have a $1,000 offer, you give them a discount of $800, but that's kind of gonna position you as not that important, so it's not really recommended, but like I said, it's a possibility. And if that doesn't work, you either try to rebook or you let the call go and you hit them with the follow-up sequence later on and then feed them back into the ecosystem to later on book a call. And then once you get your payment, it's just fulfillment and keeping the client satisfied. Now, the video ads themselves are kind of complicated, so I would make a different video just explaining exactly that. But for now, let's talk about the story sequences. The Instagram stories are what you're going to be posting every single day. And there are some tips you can use to boost your performance of your stories. The number one tip is to use the close friends type of stories even more. And the reason for that is because close friend stories get moved to the front of people's tabs. You know, the tab where you have your Instagram profile, you get moved to the front instantly. And this can increase your story views by 50 to 100%. So the structure you follow is you have the close friends, then you do the story sequence. I'll just do SC for short. And then another cool tip is to use another close friend story about 12 hours later to get another boost, because after about 12 hours, your first close friend story stops getting shown to as much people. So if you use another one, about 12 hours later, you're going to get an additional boost and get even more attention. And the way you do this is first, of course, you use the close friend story to generate attention. Then your story sequence redirects this attention into a converting asset or an action-driven reel, which is basically the same thing as a converting asset, but in a reel format. So that means reels that have this comment system, and I'll send you the full breakdown. And then you send them the system, which is going to be your lead magnet, collecting info, or getting them to book a call. Additionally, you can send them to your long form content or your YouTube videos, where you then give them the lead magnet, which is going to be your value. And then another tip that I really recommend, which not a lot of people do, is collecting the user data from these lead magnets. If you track your information and you see you get a lot of views on your lead magnet, but not a lot of conversion, that means there's an issue within the lead magnet itself and basically tells you that it's not valuable enough for people to take action. But if you see that you're not getting a lot of views on your lead magnet, but you're getting a lot of booked calls, that means there's a problem within the video itself, not engaging people to take enough action. That's why you track data to improve the offer and optimize the lead magnets. And then, of course, if everything goes well, you get the sale. Now, the main story structure that if you master, you should do this perfectly is this. Step one is making people aware. Now, this can be anything. You can make them aware of results you've gotten with pattern interrupts like this, showing you've made $56,000 today, or 366 booked calls in the last 7 days, followed up by a call to action. Another thing, an opener like this, which basically looks really cool and is good for retention and getting people hooked on board, and then followed up with a pattern interrupt. Another way is showing client results or show social proof. These are all ways of getting people aware. Next is scarcity or playing on their pain points. You make them understand that this is a limited offer and there's not infinite amounts of spots. You make them feel that feeling of exclusivity, or you talk about pain points and the solutions to their pain. You make them think and you show them the possibilities of what can happen using the right solutions, which will of course be your offer. And then of course you have your solution and credibility, which is basically you showing your offer and the results you've gotten from that offer. Then simply a call to action telling people to DM you this to get that, or comment this to get that. And then you back it up with proof, even more proof, to show that, okay, if you take action, I'm not just telling you to take action, I'm showing you that this will actually benefit you, which basically makes it a no-brainer to take action and generating you even more inbound leads. And there are a bunch of story formats, but here are some of them. The credibility-driven ones, which are here, basically using client results and success stories to show that you've gotten results and people are satisfied with your product, backed by a call to action to comment something or DM you something. Then you have your call to action driven ones, which are basically just stories telling you, DM me this and I'll send you this, to trigger your inbound conversations and get you to the sales part of your funnel. You then have value driven stories, which are the best types of stories to post if you don't have any testimonials yet. Now, these can be anything. These can be mini lessons. They can be small tips of value. You can just do any type of stories to show people that you understand a specific pain point that they might have and you have the right solutions to it. Now, these also establish authority, because if you do it right, like for example, posting Miro videos like these, you show that you understand all of these issues that they have and you have the right systems in place to help them fix these issues without even having any testimonials yet. And then you have the scarcity or pain driven types of stories, where you basically play on the pains that people might have or your ideal client might have, and then giving them the solution or the answer to that pain point that they might have. And then finally, we have the different types of content to post. You have two main types of content to post, which are going to be Miro content, where you give away all your knowledge for free. And then you have your talking head content, which you're mostly going to use to deliver assets. Now, Miro videos are what you're watching right now. And here you basically show them the how of what you're doing and not just the results of what you're doing. And these videos are super simple to make and they build a lot of trust. The whole point of these Miro style videos is to build trust and warm up viewers for later on when you're going to get them to engage. And the way you make these videos is super simple. You pick a topic that you understand a lot or you're passionate about. You create the diagrams and visuals for the Miro board using something like Napkin AI that can instantly generate graphics for you. You then record the video on something like Loom or OBS, doesn't matter. And then, additionally, you should record your camera to, like you see on my screen right now. And then you put them together on something like CapCut, After Effects, Premiere Pro, doesn't matter. And then you upload it on your socials and repeat. These videos are super simple to pump out, and you can additionally add your assets into these, but I'd recommend doing that for talking head videos. And here are some examples. You see just a simple screen recording down here, camera up here, and then captions in the middle to optimize it even more. The talking head content is a little harder to make because you usually need to edit them and structure them in a way where they look more professional, because videos with higher quality usually perform better than the simple ones. But depending on your niche and the style you want to go for, both can be done. Now, these videos build authority because you can talk directly to your ideal client while still building trust, because you actually provide them an asset that can benefit them if it's good. And these videos can get better engagement because, like I said, you can use them for the top of the funnel with the organic content for cold prospects, which basically means instead of giving them an asset, you give them a reason to follow your page. But yeah, they're a little less specific, which means you're probably not going to get as many conversions from these, but you can if you do them right, but they're really hard to master and might take you much longer than the micro videos or story sequences themselves. A simple way of explaining the structure is you pick a pain point that your ideal client might have, and then you build a solution around that pain point, which is going to be your asset, which you're going to be sending to them. Then you script the video if you need to, you record it, edit it by sending it off to a third party or doing it yourself. I'd recommend spending a little more and getting someone to do it for you to make it look good. And then, of course, you post the video and put in the caption, DM me X for Y, deliver the product, track it, like I mentioned earlier, to optimize, and then you get your inbound leads for the sales part of the funnel. This was a pretty quick way of explaining everything, but if you kind of understand the principle of this whole system, what each part does and what it means, you could easily be bringing in 5 to 6 figure months using this exact system. And if you have any more questions or want anything else explained more in detail, reach out to me on Instagram and I'll get right back to you.